You know that term, affordable housing, right? We all think we know what it means. We picture homes for people who really need them. Teachers, cashiers, maybe young families just starting out. But what happens when that term gets used in one of the wealthiest places in America, like Marin County, California? Well, the definition gets weird. So today, we're going to dig into the numbers and ask a really simple question. When a new affordable building goes up, who can actually afford to live inside? So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the state-level mandate that's really forcing these cities to build. Then, we're going to decode what the word affordable actually means in the official rulebook. After that, we'll get to the price tag, and trust me, the rents are going to surprise you. We'll check out how the community is reacting to all this, and then wrap up with the core question at the heart of this entire debate. All right, first up, the mandate. You see, this whole story doesn't start with a local town hall meeting. It actually starts with a huge statewide crisis and a top-down order from the government trying to fix it. The root of all this goes way back. For decades, California just didn't build enough housing to keep up with all the people and jobs moving in. It created this massive pressure cooker of a supply and demand problem, and prices went through the roof. So the state decided it had to step in, and step in hard. What they did was pass a whole bunch of state laws that basically tell cities, you will approve new housing projects. It gives developers a ton of power to build huge 17-story buildings with very little parking, and it makes them pretty much immune to any objections from the local government, as long as they promise to include some of those affordable units. And this isn't just some theory, it's happening right now. Just listen to what this Marin resident said. A pretty controversial project got the green light, not because the city thought it was a great idea, but because this state mandate basically tied their hands. This is the key piece of context for everything we're about to get into. Okay, so that leads us to our next section, decoding affordable. This is where things get really, really interesting because the official definition of what's affordable, it's probably not what you think. So when developers get to build these massive projects because they're including units for low or moderate income folks, who are we actually talking about? Well, in a place as wealthy as Marin County, those labels are tied to something called the area median income, which is sky high. Okay, just look at these numbers. This is the official government data. To qualify for a low-income apartment in Marin, a single person can be making over $111,000 a year. A family of four, they can bring in almost $160,000 and still be considered low income. It's just a totally different reality. And this right here, this number just says it all. A family of four making almost $200,000 a year qualifies for a subsidized moderate income apartment. Let that sink in. This single number is the key to understanding the huge disconnect we're about to talk about. Which of course brings us to the price tag. I mean, if the income limits are that high, what does that actually do to the monthly rent? This is where the policy hits your wallet. Okay, get ready for this because it's a bit of a mind bender. The average rent for a regular one-bedroom apartment in San Rafael is around $2,300 a month. But under the state's formula, the maximum affordable rent for a brand new low-income unit for just one person is over $2,700. Yeah, you heard me right. The subsidized so-called affordable unit is hundreds of dollars more expensive than the average place on the open market. And it is not a one-off thing. These rent caps are tied directly to those super high income levels we just looked at. Developers can legally charge nearly $4,000 a month for a family of four and still call it low-income housing. So here's the crucial thing. This state policy is creating incentives to build for the low and moderate income folks, but it does almost nothing for the people in the very low income bracket. The ones who need the help the most. So after seeing all that, how are the actual residents, the people who live there, reacting? Well, let's take a look. This is where all that data crashes into real life, and, well, a lot of frustration comes to the surface. This comment from a resident named Suzanne really it hits the nail on the head. She's talking about the real workforce, the childcare providers, the grocery store clerks, the people whose entire monthly paycheck might be less than the rent on one of these affordable apartments. This isn't workforce housing for them. And right here, another resident, Mike Lee, says what a lot of people are thinking. There's this growing suspicion that these projects aren't really about helping the people who are struggling. Because the rents are so high, it starts to feel like a system that's just set up to make developers rich, letting them build whatever they want while claiming they're doing a good deed. And this quote from a local magazine really highlights the human cost of all this. It's not just about numbers and policy. It's about the fabric of the community. It's about the nurses, the teachers, the kids who grew up in Marin who are now completely priced out of the very place they call home. So all of this brings us to our final section, the core question. How in the world do you square a policy that sounds good on paper with the reality that feels completely broken? Ultimately, this whole entire mess boils down to two completely different definitions of one word, affordable. On one side, you have the government's official, technical definition. It's just a math problem based on a median income that's already incredibly high. And on the other side, you have what we all think it means, a price that an essential worker can actually, afford. And in a place like Marin, those two definitions are living on different planets. So what's the bottom line here? What do we take away from all this? First, affordable housing is a government buzzword. It's a technical term. It doesn't mean what we think it means. Second, in really wealthy areas, you get this absolutely bizarre situation where the affordable rent is actually higher than the normal market rent. And all of this creates a huge disconnect between the policy's goals and what people are actually experiencing. And finally, these state mandates are just pushing these projects through, leaving local communities feeling like they have no say at all. And that leaves us with one last big question. If the housing that's being built under these rules isn't actually affordable for the teachers, the nurses, the service workers, the very people who make a community run, then who exactly is it for? It's a question that places like Marin are being forced to grapple with as the buildings go up and the real meaning of affordability gets lost in the process.